You will keep falling short of your academic goals until you actually learn this boring but efficient way to actually pass all your exams. And when I say all, I mean all your exams. In case you're new here, my name is Eno and I'm a first class mechanical engineering student at Governor University. And I've also had the opportunity to mark scripts while I was in secondary school for 3 years. So I can tell you that this boring tip that I'm about to share with you, it will save you from hours in the teacher's office. So I'm going to just simply be telling you how this boring tip actually works, why it actually works, and how you can actually use it to get better grades. So anyways, let's get into it. Let's also go to where I usually stay. The thing about this really boring tip is that you won't really be able to use it as efficiently as you can if you don't really understand why it works and how it actually truly works. So just imagine how you went to an exam hall, you've read, you're fully loaded, you get to the exam hall, and then okay, it's time for you to write. And then instead of you to start writing, you're telling the examiner like, oh yeah, sir, I've read so much. I don't really feel like writing right now, but maybe like in my free time. I'm not gonna write anything, but I trust that you know that I've read a lot, and so I think I'm gonna go now, so I'm not going to write this exam, blah 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 blah. And then you go. You definitely know you're not going to pass the exam. That thing is going to just be an automatic query over. Why? Because though you have to explain to the examiner all the things you learned, you told him that oh you're good at this, you're good at that. What you have just done is not a proof of your ability to actually understand that course. Your true ability to prove that you've actually understood that course is what you actually write on paper. One thing that I don't think people have understood yet is that school does not really care how much you really understand, because they need to just see how you're able to explain it back to them. We live in a system whereby memorization is prioritized over comprehension and regurgitation over reflection. And sometimes if you can't fight the game, you have to just win it the way they play it. And so you have to actually understand the way you're supposed to represent that information such that your lecturer can see and you actually understand that course. And that is going to be your best bet at actually winning and passing most of your courses. I've seen some courses whereby it's like some scripts whereby it was not like the person did not really understand what they were writing, but the way they even wrote it and presented it, it was really the difference between 60, 70, and 50. And so I'm going to be explaining how you can use this boring technique to actually improve your grades and actually do a whole lot better than you ever have in your academic life since the day you started school. So in case you have not actually caught the memo and you've not understood what I'm talking about yet, this boring technique actually has a lot to do with your exam questions more than it has to do with your study techniques. And this first tip actually has to do with how you lay out your army. Imagine we had an army of men, and then they had the whole battlefield, and then we had the enemy right in front of them, yes. And then what did army here simply told them to do was all of them should stand in this corner here, right here. Everybody should just stand there, don't worry, from that corner, they all fight. Instead of them to spread out and kind of like try and surround the army. Best believe that army, they are meeting their godfathers that day. Why? Because they put everything in one simple space, so it was really easy for the enemy to spot them and just kill all of them. The same thing when it comes to your exam questions. You actually have to lay out your papers in a way that will actually make sense. Like I said before, that has really been the difference between some people that got 50 and some people that got 60. The way they laid out their answers was complete nonsense. And so sometimes lecturers might not even see, oh, this is where their mark is supposed to be. And so the first tip when it comes to laying out these questions, when you're answering your questions, the first thing when it's theory, yes, leave one page space after your question. Don't worry, you thank me for this. Wait, let me catch on with something. Because sometimes you might actually solve the question and only for you to realize that, oh my god, hey wait, I solved rubbish there. But glory be to God, if you actually left that space after that question, you'll actually be able to cancel and still continue that question from that space instead of going to go and write the question in a completely different place. And sometimes when you write it in that completely different place, it might be difficult for you to try and associate the different writings flipping from page to page, and that might actually make you make more mistakes. So leaving that extra page like after you're done writing, just in case of precautionary issues and all that. But of course, sometimes you might not be able to get extra sheets and all that. So just try your best to manage it. Just leave a little bit of a gap because you don't really know what might happen, especially if you know that you're not really sure as you're writing the question at that particular moment. And the second thing when it comes to laying out your army, I shared this on Thursday during the live, how somebody that was really excellent and all that, he was not getting the amount of marks he was meant to get simply because of his handwriting. And so when it comes to layout of questions, if you know your handwriting is really or really tiny, try your best to at least leave one page after, when you're solving. Write one line, leave a page, just to make it a little bit more concise. And this also helps in case you actually solve something wrong, so you can cancel and just simply write what you were meant to solve on top. But if you squeeze everything together and then you solve it in a wrong way, there won't be any space to write anything actually afterwards. So you just try your best, like spread it out and all that. The way I like to think about it is that write your exam script like as if you were writing the marking scheme, as if you are going to give somebody else to use that your script to mark. You won't write everything jam packed in such a way that the person that wants to mark won't be able to see it. Rather, you will make your handwriting wider, you will make it a whole lot better. And that's why practicing PQ with timers is actually also very, very important. So that you can practice writing it very well, also while maintaining that particular time slot, within everything. Because sometimes when you're trying to also make the handwriting fancy, you don't know you're actually also wasting time. So doing that timer thing along with PQ helps you to practice writing it effectively, writing it efficiently, also while doing it within the time slots and everything. But sometimes it's not really always about how you write it, but the format through which you actually do some of the things. And once again, I'll be going into another analogy. I think it's like the same thing in football as well. I don't want to talk too much on this. For some boys, they'll be like, what's the clip? But all those formations that we usually do, 5-3-2, like those strategies actually help team to actually focus their energy and actually do that game the correct way. It's the same thing when it comes to answering your questions in example. And so I'm going to be dividing it into calculation subjects and writing subjects, as I always like to do. So when it comes to calculation subjects, for some particular courses, let's not lie. When it comes to calculation subjects, let's not lie. For some particular courses, the steps are actually very, very important. In my years of actually marking, there were sometimes when the person, they did it rush and they actually got the question correctly. But when I was like, okay, sir, what of the other marks was in there? The person did not write the steps. Forget those marks. Give the person only the mark for the steps. There's a particular course I did last session, 320 engineering mathematics, blah blah blah, where it had all these Ranjikuta and things where it had millions of steps. There were some people that they will actually get the answer question, they will solve it, they will get it. But that person, the person getting 10/70. Why? Because the person jumped steps, and sometimes in some particular courses, these steps really carry a whole lot of marks. I've seen somebody, two people against the script, they told them they got the questions correctly, they got the answer correctly, but one person was feeling like John Wick. They were feeling like I can pass through the motions and I won't suffer any consequences. Well, apparently there are consequences, because even those steps, they also actually carry marks. So when it comes to calculation subjects, avoid dropping marks as much as you can, because you don't know what you're just missing out on. And so the next thing when it comes to calculation subjects, when it comes to format of answer questions, is actually your units. I know it's very clumsy, but there's a particular course that I actually have. If you actually don't write this unit, the person is going to cancel your whole answer. That whole thing you're waiting there is invalid. Why? Simply because you not put your unit. There's a joke that one of my teachers to say that time when we were in secondary school, why will you not put unit? Is it 30 Newton? Is it 30 bags of rice? Is it 30 books? What is it? No. So that's not specifying your units. It's actually very, very important. Forget even the exam one. I think it's just to teach us to actually keep those units, especially when it comes to the industry now. Imagine if they told you to calculate the force that something will hit in a building, and then instead of writing Newton per meter, you go and write mega Newton per meter, and then before you know, they apply 30 mega Newton per meter, and then they crushes down the whole building simply why you do not write the correct units on it. So it's just very, very important to also think about your units and all that, and just remember that. So now when it comes to writing courses, I was talking to somebody in economics one time, and apparently there's actually a strategy when it comes to defining some things when it comes to that particular sector. And apparently when they tell you, is it discuss? Yes, discuss. They actually want you to write the definition, advantages, disadvantages, and some other things like that. So there are those strategies when it comes to discussing some things when it comes to writing courses as well. One of these days, I know I should probably interview one of you guys people, but I know that on you guys' side the rules are completely different. But when it comes to definitions, there's something that I've actually derived to actually help you to remember definitions a whole lot more. And so you can divide your definitions into these like 3 questions. First of all, what, how, and why. This is just to simply help you to like remember, what it is, how it does that, and why it does that. Because I think if you look at your definitions, you can actually easily divide it into all those things. And then let's say I wanted to define, what is a control system? It's a system, that does what? It converts processes into outputs and all that stuff. So that is what it does. I can also tell them how it does that through, passing it through systems and all that. And I'll also tell you why it does that. So that's just simply just to help you to understand how, like, just to remember it. So you can just tell them what it does, how it does it, and why it does it. And that can make you a really, really large definition that can actually help you to define it better and actually gain more marks in your definitions. So just remember, when you're trying to define, you can tell them the what, the how, and the why of the word. This is very, very efficient, especially when it comes to theory courses where you have to write a whole lot. And so I'm about to tell you something really, really funny and really, really creative. So all these ones that I've told you right now will not matter if you don't follow this third step I'm about to tell you. Because there's actually no point in knowing how to lay out your questions if you have nothing to lay out. And so this is, I'm going to just simply show you a better way to help your brain to connect things so that you can easily put them down on paper and actually understand it and write it efficiently. And so this next one actually goes into mind maps and flowcharts. It's something that I used to do a whole lot more frequently before, but I started getting back into it because this semester is 5.0 or nothing. Hey, so this mind maps and flowcharts, they actually just help you to connect every single thing that you've learned in an efficient way, such that you can actually connect everything that you've learned and see how they actually work together. So recently I was just reading that control system I was just talking about. I don't know if you guys can see it, but like I tried connecting every single thing that I have actually learned, and see how they relate to each other. I started from, okay, what is a control system? How it is represented? Okay, it's represented through Laplace. Okay, what next? What does this Laplace that it represents as do? It shows me its transfer function, which is how input is converted to output. I just drew all these lines to see how they are all connected to each other and how it actually works. This also not just helps me to remember it, but also tells me how every single thing that I'm learning is all connected to each other. And so the power in these mind maps and flowcharts is not just in helping you to remember, but it actually also helps you to answer new questions. Let me explain. Like now, if you have a question now that came from this particular course and you've never seen it before, but you can remember that, okay, this kind of looks like this particular topic, and this topic, this is how I use it in this other topic as well. It can help you to easily analyze the questions and actually answer it more efficiently. Instead of writing on your question paper, sir, please, you did not teach us this. He did, but maybe just straightforward. So it just helps you to connect every single thing that you're learning, so that when you come now to write down all your questions, when it comes to write down all your formats and everything, you won't sit down there getting confused and trying to remember, oh, when did they teach us this, how did they teach us this? Because you've already done the mind maps that help you to connect everything together and help you to understand how they all align and how they actually all work together. But the truth is, no matter how much you understand how to lay out your information, how to present it such that your lecturers can mark it easier, faster, and actually allot you more marks through the way you represent them, you can never really represent them properly if you don't really know how to understand the material faster, better, and more efficiently. There are methods and there are strategies that you can actually use to help you to understand that material so much better and so much easier, and when it comes to writing your exam questions, it will just simply be a breeze. So click on this video by this side if you actually want to know how to understand material better, so that they can actually help you to grow your CGPA and actually attack these exams that are coming up with greater precision. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. See you guys in another video. Bye. I never believed I'll be using football to talk about academics, but here we are.